Hi, I'm Amy Corr, Chief Brokerage Officer of @Properties Christie's International Real Estate, and you're listening to Corr Values, a podcast where we talk about real estate and real life. As someone who's worn many hats, agent, managing broker, coach, executive, and mom, I know the hustle is real. So I'm sitting down with industry leaders and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories, strategies, and values that fuel real success. From being the CEO of your own business to figuring out how to show up for your people, we're covering it all. Today's guest sits at the intersection of real estate, entrepreneurship, and tech innovation. As the founder and CEO of multiple AI companies and a former top-producing luxury agent, Mark Neuterman is focused on helping brokers transform their business with AI. In this episode, we break down which AI tools are best for different needs, how the technology is changing the way agents get discovered online, and practical ways to start integrating AI into your daily workflow. Stick around for Rapid Fire, where we cover everything from AI shortcuts to Mark's passions outside of work. Let's dive in. Mark, I am so excited to have you on Corr Values. You have done so much just in a short period of time, to impact, I know, all of our @Properties Christie's agents. So I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to dive in a little deeper with you and get to know you a little bit more. So you game?
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. Absolutely game.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Good. So as I said, a lot of our agents recognize you from the AI training that you have been doing with our amazing Paul Blackburn, EVP of Culture and Agent Development. And I know just so you know, hopefully you know this, but we've just gotten some great feedback. In the world where everyone is trying to figure out AI, the fact that you can try and help sort of normalize it, break it down a little bit for them has been just really powerful. So we just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity, because it's always good to take something that scares folks and kind of break it down into bite-sized chunks, because it doesn't need to be so scary. Yeah. We're all going to get there. We're going to win this thing.
Yes. I love it. We're going to win this thing, Mark. Yes.
There it is.
But I want to dig a little bit into your background before you got into AI, because you were a top producing luxury agent and you've been in the industry for, I think, just a little over 2 decades. So tell us a little bit, how did you get into real estate? And what eventually led you into this very interesting AI space?
All right. So a little bit of a weird story.
We like weird. It's all good.
Yeah, perfect. I was 17 and I was going to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to become a pilot. So I got licensed and trained as a pilot, but I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert
Yes,
Kiyosaki.
It's such a good one, right? I love that.
Such a good book.
Yes.
Now, my father was a police captain from Atlantic City, so financial literacy was not part of, speak at home. And so I read this book and I thought to myself, wait a minute, I could be a pilot or I could jump into real estate. And this is 2002, 2003, right? So things were booming at that point. And a friend of mine, his stepfather was a big developer. And so I started going with him, learning about properties. And then as soon as I turned 18, I got my real estate license. And things just took off from there. I started, whether it was residential, commercial investment, development. By the time I was 20, I had a portfolio of 10 properties and a development company. Had to go through 2008, and then things just pivoted. That was Central Florida. Then I went to San Francisco and built a great career there. And when AI came out, became more mainstream. I'm a nerd. Okay. So I love to learn. That's right. 17 reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But that being said, I saw AI becoming mainstream. And I started to learn more about it. And I just saw this is more than when the internet came out to me. This is going to change fundamentally everything. And I started the Real Estate AI University and I started the Artificial Intelligence University. And everybody made fun of me. And they were saying, oh, Terminator and all of this other stuff. But that was it, because just staying on top of it, seeing how it's evolved and will continue to evolve is how we got to where we're at right now when I launched AI Search Masters about a year ago. So it's been a lot, but it's been fun.
What was the length of that journey? Like, when was it that you kind of, like, what year was it? I'm just curious, where you thought, this is going to be something. And I'm kind of curious and I kind of want to dive in and be more on the front end of this.
Let's see, we're in 2026. Wow, time flies. Probably 2023 is when I really started to just focus quite a bit into AI. And then as it became more mainstream, I've always tried to look for patterns of things and try to follow. And a lot of folks don't realize that artificial intelligence has been around for a very long time, but it wasn't until Chat GPT and everything became mainstream that everybody started to hear more about it. A lot of folks were very skeptical, as I mentioned, but it became very popular. So I would say for about 3 years that I've been very, very focused on it.
Wow. And I bet in just 3 years, would you say it has changed or just sped up so dramatically? Because I think to me with AI, it feels the speed by which it is coming into play for people and businesses. And we're going to talk a little bit about this as we get into it, but just even like, what do we do with that? Because it's like, we're like on this ride and it's like going 85 miles an hour and, but the terrain is constantly changing as we're going very fast. Right. So, I don't know if you have any kind of thoughts on that, or are you just seeing, from 2023 to 2026, how much faster is it even going right now?
It is dizzying, and 2 weeks is literally 2 months in AI time, right? So there's always more updates. You have to figure, a lot of folks, right? ChatGPT came out. Then there was different models, and it can start doing more. But a lot of folks don't realize AI is also teaching itself, right? So these things are running at this pace that we've never seen before. And the updates by which, whether it's the platform, the integration, some of these other things, it is dizzying. So for me, everything that I've been doing with my companies, we have a very open policy that subject to change, because you have to stay on top of certain things. We will research and study this. 3 months later, we're on to something else, and that has completely changed. So I think everybody should buckle up. We are going to win this thing, but evolve or die, and you have to be prepared to adapt, especially with AI.
Yeah. And also I think take a deep breath, right? Because I think everybody is going through this kind of at the same time. Some might be at a faster pace of picking it up. But, I do feel like the more we start learning about it, it's already becoming more mainstream. I think the amount of people that are going on to Chat GPT, parents, grandparents, young kids, that's changed drastically even then probably from a year and a half ago. So we're, to your point, it's evolving. We're all going to get through this, but I think it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose, I think right now for a lot of people. Right. But adapt or die. That's the way it goes. So I think that's why we're here. And that's why we're really looking at, sort of leaning in. This isn't the first time I think that our industry has seen change, I think over the last few years, but I even think looking at, a lot of the portal talk that's going on right now, but just portals in general changed the way that we did business. When I got into real estate, sounds like very similar to when you got in. I had to find properties and I was typing in a DOS prompt. Like there was no web application to find listings. And, that was in 2001. So fast forward, portals really, changed the way that we were doing business. We've seen social media play such a big impact on, how we're exposing properties, how we're building our brands. And, now it's AI. It's this whole talk of making sure that when people Google you, your profile is AI ready. So, from your perspective, how transformative is AI for our business? And, is this different from the portals and from social media? What is your take on how it's going to impact, I think maybe the business overall, but as we're talking to agents who are listening out there right now, how is it going to impact, what they're doing?
Sure. And great question. So I'm going to break it down actually, because I think this is where it's tough to imagine when you think about AOL. With dial-up, right? And somebody in the home picked up the phone, and who picked up the phone? It cuts off the connection, right? Now we're FaceTiming with our cell phones. So and it's hard to think about what it could or will look like, right? When it comes to the real estate industry, there's a few things that I always just try to share with folks. When it comes to the portals and the searching and everything else, you start to see these integrations of these platforms and the way people are starting to search. So for instance, when I'm talking about AI visibility, a lot of folks think Chat GPT, Claude, Perplexity, and then you have folks that say, well, that doesn't matter because my folks are on Google. And I say, but Google AI Overview, Gemini, it's there too, right? the search capacity for properties with the integrations is all speeding up, and AI is already there, but it's going to be transformative in how folks work, how the clients are working. A big part of the push for AI visibility in education is, regardless of the way your business is built, the client's behavior is going to change. So we must be ahead of the curve for that. People often say, will the agent be replaced? I firmly and truly believe the human element is key. And most clients, we saw how the iBuyer thing worked out, right? That didn't go very well. So humans want to connect with other humans. But when it comes to efficiency, when it comes to the power to be able to do more transactions, those that are empowered by and embrace AI will run circles around those that simply say, I don't want to touch it, it's too time consuming or whatever else. So I just think everybody should at least be open to learning about it. You don't have to drink out of the fire hose and be overwhelmed, but it has already transformed, and it will continue to transform the way this entire industry operates.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think to your point, clients are looking at, how AI can help them as far as search. I think the one thing that AI is not going to really be able to replace, in my opinion, is that trust component. Because I think even if AI can help formulate a decision, right, and narrow in on concepts or ideas or even a search, I think there's still that gut check of having another person say, this is a smart decision. Like, this is the right house for you based off of everything that we've talked about. And I think there would be a fear that chat or AI or Claude could get that wrong. And, so I think what we need to recognize, to your point, is how to use AI kind of in parallel or in conjunction with what we do so that we actually can spend more time on the human element, which is usually what was getting lost because the speed of real estate was going so fast. We didn't have time to keep up with our people because we were working on all of our processes. So I do think that, to me, seems like the secret element for agents if they can figure that out. But it's still confusing. There's a lot of, do I use Claude? Do I use ChatGPT? So this kind of leads into, another question for you, which is, if you were actively selling in real estate today, how would you fit AI into your daily workflow? And, maybe what wouldn't you use AI for too? Because I think that's just as important to know how to use it, and then maybe not to have it show up in, create an AI version of you talking to your clients. Like, that might not go so well, right?
Yeah. So if I were actively selling right now, and one of the biggest things in my real estate coaching that I focus on is time management. The efficiency and the time management to help stay organized, to help stay consistent with everything that you do. This could be calendar integrations. This could be, and let me back up one sec. It could literally just be one platform, because I see agents that really want to go down the rabbit hole, and I love it. And if they have the time and the capacity, but you said it perfectly. Whenever clients come to my company, as I always say, this is here to help you get back in front of the client, because the relationship is everything. This is not meant to just all of a sudden you're going to go hands free like the pilot in the airplane, right? So the ability to be more efficient, to have that time, email integrations, summations, you could have daily briefs coming in. So it could be just Chat GPT that is sending you every 4 hours, here is a brief of your emails. And it will literally tell you questions that have been asked by who, and you can click and go back to that particular email. Calendar notifications, just staying organized, things that I would not do. AI can be very wrong, very wrong. And I've seen a lot of agents make the mistake of, hey, that efficiency thing you talk about, Mark, I'm just going to have AI do everything and I'm just going to keep on moving. Please don't do that. Please double check anything that AI gives you. The numbers can be wrong. The data can be wrong. And something that's also fascinating is a lot of folks who copy and paste text from AI forget that it will actually have prompts in the text. And it'll be like, well, do you want me to generate a one-page PDF for you at the end? That's on their blog. That's on their website. And it's like, you have to have some quality control. So I think what I would do, time management, efficiency, revenue generating activities. Another fun activity is, for my one-on-one coaching, we do a 2-week time audit. Any client that I work with, we start with that. Input that into AI and have it work with you almost as a little mini coach to identify revenue generating activities versus not. But what I would not do is just blindly rely on it.
So I love all of these things that you're saying, but I want to get more like tactical. Would you pick ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini? Or is your answer, it depends on the suite that you're using or what has the most information? Like, are they all created equal? And then for these things, being able to audit my 2 weeks, how do I do that? Like, how do I actually plug into, is it just simply going to chat and saying, hey, I want you to track everything I'm doing through my calendar and through all of my emails? Like, how am I wasting my time? How do I get from concept to, do you have any couple of quick tips on how to actually execute?
From a user interface generalist standpoint, I think ChatGPT is probably the best for a lot of folks. Now, I'm sure anybody listening right now may think, no, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. Claude is terrific for content. That's my favorite right now for content. If you're doing blogs, if you're doing emails, it's got that human element to it. Perplexity is my favorite when it comes to thorough research, if we're talking about numbers, properties, things like that. Gemini is integrated into a lot of things, but I think chat from a user interface, the UI UX standpoint, and especially voice. What a lot of folks don't realize, and I always have a fun, it's like when somebody doesn't realize they can talk to their AI, and you talk to them 2 weeks later, and they say, all I've done for 2 weeks is just talk to my AI about everything, right? And but when it comes to the time tracking, unlike when you have to just write everything down per hour, you could literally just tell it to your AI who's going to transcribe it, remember it, have all the context there for you, give you a chart, give you everything that's broken up. So now while you're driving down the road, you're going to an appointment, you can literally hit the button, talk to it, tell it what you're doing. Because when I tell my folks, try to be as detailed as possible. In real estate, you do a lot in 1 hour. Right? So you could be driving, doing phone calls, texting. Please don't text while you drive. But you could be doing all of these different things, but who were you talking to is a very important part of that equation. Because if you're just, calling a friend versus calling a client, two very different things. So that goes back to the efficiency. I think chat is the best overall for folks that don't want to get too nuanced. Perplexity on research, Claude for content.
Okay. And then one other kind of follow-up question on that. Obviously, there's like a free version of chat. I'm assuming there's probably a free version of Claude. How expensive does this get to suddenly have these memberships? Because I'm of the ilk, or understanding anyway, that you want to purchase your own version of these AI tools, because then it's starting to track your own kind of profile or database of information. But there's also something related to, I don't know if it's the security of the data, but it is a little bit more yours versus everyone. So I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on that, as far as, should people be, buying memberships to all of these different things?
I always suggest spend the $20 a month.
Okay.
That's it. 20 a month to have a paid version of a platform. It can go up to $200 a month for the max plan. Now, obviously for my companies, we have a lot of different staff, a lot of folks. We're doing a lot of products. There's a lot of usage, right? API credits, a lot of these things. But whether it's 20 a month or 200 a month, this is one of the best investments to unlock certain features. And then you talk about personalization, which is terrific. Having your own personalized AI account is part of the magic, because it remembers what you're talking about. And so it could be work, it could be living, it could be relationship, it could be health or working out. And it's going to remember certain things you talked about weeks ago, months ago, and it can reference to give you better recommendations, solutions, ideas, and kind of have that conversation. As far as the security component, having the paid account is not making data any more secure, so to speak, right? Because everything is in the algorithm. So I would just be cautious. And again, we're learning more on this as we go. But I do think there's a red flag for everybody to just pause a little bit and think about what you are putting into the algorithm, whether it's paid or free.
Got it. Yeah. And I think that's something for us to be aware of, just obviously being agents who, have clients and just making sure that we're putting it into our daily workflow. But, are there things that we should be mindful of as it comes to data privacy and confidentiality? I agree with you. I think, this is evolving at such a fast pace. I don't even know if, those who operate and are running Chat and Claude and Gemini, I don't even know if they have their arms around that yet. Do you think that's a safe argument?
So they have actually come out to make it very clear there is a lack of legal protection for information that is put into their platforms. And I always start with this, common sense, right? So for agents, if you think about what am I putting in there, if it's going to be you're running comps, right? You're trying to figure out some different numbers, you're doing some emails, things like that. You have integrations already built in. So it's going to see certain things. But please don't upload passwords. No financial data from the clients, no proof of funds, no mortgage statements. Because even if you have a paid account and you think, well, this is my account, it's perfectly fine. Nobody really knows. And so when you think about the fiduciary, you think about legal compliance, you think about all of these different things, but mainly think about the client first. And the information, they're back to trust. They're putting their trust in you, but now you're taking their highly confidential information and you're putting it into the algorithm. And at the end of the day, we don't know enough currently to know where that could potentially go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree with you, because I have heard just scenarios where, we're in a very competitive market space right now where there's, properties that are getting 10 offers at a time. So, I've heard agents say, I've taken all of those offers and kind of uploaded them into Chat to kind of come back and sort of give us, what are probably the, top 1 to 2 offers based off of all of the input. And I wouldn't say my thought is, you should still do that. But to your point, I think stripping down anything that would have names of the people submitting the offer, maybe even the property address, right? So just being as mindful as we can be that, putting data into the machine or into AI, to your point, you don't know how they're going to repurpose it. God forbid somebody's searching even accidentally about, properties that have competitive offers in, an area, Winnetka, Lake Forest, Chicago, and suddenly some of your data is kind of accidentally repurposing. So I think that is the hard thing. I think for some of us, we're just working so hard on even learning how to use the tool and how to use it to our benefit, right? It's like of thinking through the ramifications of our actions, isn't always top of mind, I would say. So I think that is one of the things that I'm starting to recognize is just real mindfulness on what we're putting in. And to your point, even if we have a paid version of it that doesn't, say that the information or the data is completely secure.
No, not at all. And I would at least redact certain bits to your point, right? So if it's going to be the names or even the property address, you can do a lot, or you could even just tell it verbally or even write down certain terms and other things that are there to compare. So there are ways, first off, for everybody, it's never a bad idea to slow down. Never a bad idea. I have seen a number of situations where, let's just say folks have business ideas. And AI can do a wonderful job of giving you strategy and platforms and systems, and it's game changing. But then I've also heard a lot of folks with competing businesses that pop up, and the conversations had, where did you get the idea? Well, AI gave it to me. So somebody had this revolutionary, groundbreaking idea, and then AI. So you never really know, even if it's not giving the detail, what is what summary is being put out potentially to somebody who asks a similar type of question of, I want to have passive income, I want to have a side hustle, what is it? And it's like, oh, I've got this great idea because somebody else just gave them the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a part of me that feels like we're going to see complication before we see clarity, because I think we're starting to get to this point where so many people are kind of engaged in figuring this out that I just feel like there's going to be a little bit of this bottleneck. I think we'll get out of it, but, before I think we start seeing some of that clarity. So, I guess, for everybody who's, hearing this, I think it is, to your point, maybe slowing down, making sure how we're using it right now, that we're a little bit intentional about the data we're putting in, mostly from, protecting themselves and protecting, clients and client information. To me, that's kind of the biggest thing right now that we're looking at.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that in some of the trainings that you have done for our agents, which have been extremely well received, we've talked a lot about this idea of, starting to reinvent people finding you and finding information about you, right? And you said that AI systems don't clearly understand who you are and what you do necessarily. And so they won't necessarily recommend you. And if you're not recommended, then you're kind of invisible, right? So I guess where I'm going is, back in the day, what would we do if somebody made a recommendation of, hey, you should work with Susie? We always say, you better make sure that you've got some reviews, because they're going to go ahead and Google you, right? But now I do think that AI kind of takes that a little bit further, so what does this mean for the average agent as they're trying to grow their business? And, especially because some agents say, well, I work so much by referral. So, my social profile or how I'm seen online isn't as important. I'm curious of your take on it. What should agents be thinking right now in the new world of search, in the new world of, even if they get recommended, are most people still saying, I'm still going to check and see what I can find out about them online? And if so, then what should agents be thinking about doing to put their best face or foot forward?
Yeah, great question. And I think those who have the repeat referral business should probably pay attention the most to what I'm about to say. Okay. I call it the fifth friend at dinner. Okay. Right. So in the past, here's your past client, right? Here's a lovely couple that you had worked with. You've done 4 transactions. They love you to death. And they're going to go to dinner with another couple and they're going to recommend you. Oh my gosh, Amy was amazing. All these transactions we've done, you should use her. Mm-hmm. And the couple sitting there, they're smiling, thank you so much. And then they leave. And one of them is talking to ChatGPT all day long. Right. It's part therapist, part friend. And they say, well, for this area, who's the best agent? Who should I be using? And then it's going to recommend certain agents. Some should be on there, some should not. Many should not. And this is part of what we're talking about here. But if you're not on the list, are they less likely to actually use you, or are they more likely to potentially use somebody from that list? Mm-hmm. And so this is what we have seen across the board. When you look at AI visibility, in a nutshell, AI is looking to recommend an expert. Mm-hmm. The hyperlocal authority, the specialist in a certain niche, whatever that is. But we've all heard about AI being wrong, which I even talked about, always double check. Mm-hmm. Well, the engineers have trained the algorithms with AI. The best way to not be wrong is, if you're not sure and you see any inconsistencies in the information, recommend somebody else. So we had SEO days where you were paying for the links on Google. Everybody's trying to get to that first page, or you buy the sponsored ads. It has now changed where your online profile, this is your digital footprint, we say, needs to be consistent across the board. Same brokerage, NAP consistency, your name, your address, your phone, the email, all of that matters. But also your website matters, because AI has seen all of the information available to it. It is now looking for human content from an expert. In real estate, you're the expert, you're the authority, you are the credible entity that it's looking for. So it's looking for blogs and FAQs about areas or specialties or certain things. So now more than ever, looking at your AI visibility footprint is a critical piece of the equation moving forward for that fifth friend, or just a lot of folks who, whether it's the referral or not, they're going to double check, they're going to verify who's going to be the best. Even in this area, I'm a first-time home buyer. I want to put down $50,000 in this little neighborhood. Who should I use?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to start giving a lot of different names.
Okay. And so, and some of it might just be by happenstance that somebody just happened to write a blog maybe. And so now AI is sort of searching and might be serving that person up who maybe sold a house or two versus the trusted expert who's been in the business for, 20 years and has, sold 400 houses in the community. So
that's right.
Okay, so I hear you. And if I'm an agent listening, it's like, okay, so what do I do now? Right? Because what this is saying to me is, oh boy, now I have to spend some time, really looking at my online profile. Also, I feel like what I might have heard from you a little bit is that written content, written information that I've provided in any fashion would be something valuable for AI to find so that they can start, I don't know, considering me as an expert or assuming that I'm an expert in real estate. So, all right, what is my first step then? Without, again, it being feeling like overwhelm, what are like one or two of the first things that I can do to start making sure that my AI, footprint is appropriate or I'm going to be able to compete compared to others who are trying to do the same thing?
Sure. Simple math. 70% you need a website.
Okay.
30% your digital footprint. And when I say that, if you are a solo agent or a team, you need a Google business profile.
Okay.
So out of the gate, you need a website and you need Google business profile. One of the easiest steps that agents can take, Google yourself.
Okay.
And see how you come up on realtor.com, homes.com, Yelp, all of these. Make sure your name, your title, your phone number, your address, and your email are the same.
Okay. So consistency across all different sort of platforms that would have my information. Correct. Okay.
I call it the spider web, and this is what AI is looking for. So it's looking for a credible entity. Those profiles, that spider web, is what AI sees to make you credible. And the Google business profile, it is location-based. That right there, the more activity it has, but all the sections have to be completed as well. Okay. Right? So this is where having your address, one pro tip, agents, you're not open 24 hours. I know we've all done showings at some point at 2:00 in the morning, but you want to have it fully completed. When it comes to the written content, AI, LLM, large language model, text in, text out, right? It's not going to sit there in the 4 seconds that it has with the AI crawlers to watch a video. It's looking for the text. And it's also looking for human content. A lot of agents think, well, I'm just going to generate blog content. Remember, I mentioned Claude is my favorite for this. Yeah. Rule of thumb, you must humanize 25% of the content, right? So keep the keywords, keep the market data, but you must humanize so AI is going to recognize you are adding value. Basically, you're feeding the algorithm, which is what it's looking for.
So question, testimonials, which is something a lot of agents over the years, that's what we've told people is, get those testimonials, get them posted on Zillow, onto our website. Is that considered content that they would look at and evaluate, or AI would look at if it says like, Amy was amazing at helping us find our first home, she was trustworthy, dedicated, and, there's 10 more that have kind of like-minded feedback about me? Would that be curated into something that AI would use to evaluate my expertise?
Amy, I told you I was a nerd, so let's have some fun here. Okay, so yes.
Okay.
Reviews are a critical piece of this. My company suggests to our clients, have the reviews now go to the Google business profile because it's providing velocity and activity. This is very helpful. Okay. Gemini is the only platform that can read these reviews, right? Chat can't see those because of the UI involved. I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole.
Because it's related to Gemini and Google together. Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So you would want to take the reviews and put those on your website. Have it, whether it's going to be manually put over or have it automatically hooked up with some plugin. Okay. Because this way the readability is there, But the testimonials are a huge piece. If you're searching and bringing up agents, these recommendations, it will often tell you 238 reviews, right? And it may pull from different sources. It's great to have them on Zillow. It's great to have them on Yelp. It's great to have testimonials at all.
Okay.
But for the velocity and activity component right now, and again, this is subject to change, like we talked about in the beginning, 3-6 months from now, this may change. But having them go to that Google business profile is huge signaling for AI.
Okay. And I would say most agents, and one other thing, you talked about having a website. So for all of our agents, they have sort of an infrastructure website through @properties. I know mine is amycorr.com, and it links to, the website that I have within @properties. It provides a lot of infrastructure. I can put testimonials in there. I can put my, my bio, my properties. Is that good enough?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Because you want to think about something called a root domain, right? So for me, markneuterman.com, we're getting into territory of domain authority and topical authority, which goes back to the root domain. So I often tell folks, even if it were a $5 GoDaddy website, it's going to be better than essentially what you're describing is a subdomain or a landing page that isn't giving that agent domain authority and topical authority, right? And so what everybody is looking for, it's 70% of the equation. But when somebody asks AI a question, it's going to send out something called crawlers. Now that crawler, when it gets to a website, has 4 seconds before it times out.
Okay.
It's going to look for the information. So there's the speed component of it. It's going to get the information and it's going to go back.
Okay.
So when you have a brokerage page, which is great for information, but when it comes to AI search, first off, the speed, the domain authority, AI is looking to see, here's this verified business, right? And 70% of that, as we have found out right now, and this is new information, right? This is in the last 12 months, because before it was a digital business card. And so most brokerages, we all thought, hey, this is just going to be, here's your information, which is great. But now that we've dug in and realized, wait a minute, you need that domain authority and that topical authority to build your own presence to match with the digital footprint.
Okay.
And so that's where I always tell folks, even though my company builds AI visibility websites for real estate and everything else, you don't have to work with us, but even a $5 GoDaddy site with your own domain with some blogs and FAQs is going to be better than nothing.
Got it. And so just pointing that GoDaddy to something that's within an infrastructure may not give you the same outcome of amycorr.com with a couple of my own blogs. It can then link to my website on, my @properties site that would have more information. Okay.
I would actually have any direction you wanted to end up at your own domain and your own site, right? So as many signals, backlinks and other things, you're building more credibility by having, so that amycorr.com, that is the root domain. We're trying to do everything possible to give that the strongest signal we possibly can, but not redirect that to somewhere that won't have the authority.
Got it. Okay. So my domain, my authority. So looking at that for an agent, but also I think really starting with the Google business page sounds like step one, making sure that that 100%. Is really well vetted out. And then also looking at getting those testimonials on there, making sure they're in other places. I think ultimately so that when there's a search engine looking, it's finding enough stuff to be able to recommend you. It's a lot. I mean, this is definitely a lot for agents to bite off, but it's reality, right? So, and that's part of this is it is growing, and I bet it's going to get easier the further we get into this. But what percentage of agents right now are even really tackling this? Because my guess is, they're all playing with ChatGPT, but not many are really looking at their profile online. What percentage would you say right now are kind of dialed into it?
Maybe less than 10%.
Okay, so we're good. So for us 90% who are still figuring it out, we're not totally left behind.
Well, there's a but, and there's a big but. And I always try to tell folks, and, big but, cheeky joke, but you have maybe 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Because AEO, answer engine optimization, and then GEO, generative, This is replacing SEO. In fact, it already has,
Okay.
right? So when we do AEO and GEO optimizations, SEO is already built into that. Now you're getting into that next layer. In about 2 to 3 years, this is going to be very mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Agents have such an incredible opportunity. When you said if I were actively selling, how would I use it? But the first thing I would do is focus on my presence, because once you're entrenched in certain prompts and AI visibility, it's going to be very hard to remove you.
Okay.
Right. So you want to either be recommended by name, because if somebody asked a question, a quantifiable metric, who had the most volume in this area, you could pull that number. But when you get into more of the subjective questions, who's the best, who's the top, why would I use them, their specialty, everything else, it's going to be a little bit different. When you start coming up with the blogs and the FAQs, when we work with our clients, we do content strategies. Maybe they're going to be more location-based. Maybe they're going to be more ideal client-based. And I say ideal as the key word here, because if you want to work with more luxury clients, your content should be addressing the prompts that they're going to be putting into AI. So you have that human expert content to meet them there. So it is urgent for agents to do this. A lot of folks said, wait a minute, you were talking with the Real Estate AI University about automations and systems, but now you seem to be so focused on AI visibility, which is more important. I said, it's really terrific. You can be efficient on the deal, but I'd rather you have the business to work with the efficiency and the automations. So for anybody listening, it is so important, whether you're a newer agent, whether you've been doing this 40, 50, I met a gentleman, 63 years in service. It's equally urgent for everybody right now.
Okay. So it's really focusing on how people find you using AI. And then this other side of it, which is how are we using AI to make the business that we do much more effective and streamlined. I mean, you know, whether we like it or not, ready or not, here it comes, right? So I feel like this has been, you know, very interesting and a lot to take in. But I think, you know, a lot for us to start really looking at. And, you know, what I appreciate is that right now we do have you as somebody, you know, monthly who is starting to educate our agents at Properties Christie's with, you know, what this is going to look like for these, you know, independent contractors and CEOs who are trying to figure it out. So for that, we certainly appreciate that.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Truly.
All right, Mark, do you know about the other side of this podcast? What happens after we talk about the really hard stuff, all of this AI chat?
I'm about to find out.
You are. We do a rapid fire, which is learning a little bit more. It's called Lightning Round with Mark. So this is a little bit of the lighter, fun side to figure out a little bit more about you and not just everything you know about AI. All right. Sure. So in your work with agents, what's the biggest impact AI has had on somebody's business that you've seen? And is there a success story that seems to stand out?
I have an they're so lovely. 42 years in industry.
Okay.
They did 400 million in sales last year.
Wow. Between
two individuals. When we sat down and we took a look at their competitor analysis and all the different prompts and the searches, and they're number one in their region, not just the state, the region, they were not coming up.
So the AI search, like when somebody was searching them online.
They weren't showing up. So that's how, so here you have 42 years in industry, 400 million in sales, and you're not coming up because your competitors may have better topical authority, domain authority, some of the things that I had referenced. And they looked at me and it was just thinking, how could we become irrelevant overnight? And that to me, so protecting businesses, a lot of folks think about AI, I'm going to go get more. Future-proofing your current success, for me, that's the biggest win, because 42 years, 400 million, we are not going to let you go quietly into the night where disappear. The phone, and they said 50% of their clients tell them, we've been looking at AI and we're, you know, doing our own little like Zestimate style with the pricing. So that to me is one that I hold very, very dear to my heart. Interesting perspective,
I think, for everybody to think about. Wow, because 400 million and they don't really come up. That's pretty crazy. All right, I'm going to ask, what is your favorite AI shortcut or productivity hack? And this can be work or personal.
I talk to AI way too much. But I'm talking to AI while I'm typing, while I'm doing other things. But it becomes this really great advisor. Once it starts to understand whether it's companies, businesses. I've got 4 different companies. I coach AI, I coach real estate, everything together. And so the ability for me to have conversations where it can capture the entire picture is so different from I go to a spreadsheet and then I type, and then I go to this spreadsheet and I type. I love spreadsheets, by the way. That's my happy place. I'm a numbers guy. Yeah. And so that being said, I think the ability to just have this like built-in sidekick number 2 has been huge. And every single agent, as I mentioned, talk to it, right? Even if you're afraid of it, hit the button, have a conversation, see how it goes. And it's going to give you a lot of great information. And have it ask you questions. That's the other key. Ask it to ask you questions to help you brainstorm and think.
And it probably helps to build its database of knowingness about you. So I love that. All right, let's shift a little bit, because I know you are committed to health and physical training, right? What does that routine look like for you?
So yes, I started lifting when I was 11. Started karate when I was 4, and then my dad got me in the gym at 11. So it's just kind of that's my other happy place, right? Headphones in. I don't do classes or groups. That's my time. Over the years, I've done everything from powerlifting to just a lot of different stuff. Now I follow a more low volume routine. I do upper lower twice a week.
Okay.
When I'm traveling, I still try. You got to get it in. Got it. There's no excuses, anybody. I don't want to hear this. Trust me. At 2 hours of sleep, I get it. I'll hit city after city, fly 4 states. But it's so important for me, and it gives me the energy to give that back to my clients and customers and everybody else in my staff. So, but I've also, over the years, there was a lot of, they call it ego lifting. So I'm going to go in for 2 hours and I'm going to lift and more and more. More is not better. In fact, actually, for those who want to get strong or grow muscle or anything else, less is more, at least I have found, through joint pain and tears and other stuff, especially with the lack of sleep. So good stimulus, upper lower twice a week, and then don't eat like a fool. I love sugar. So, so I have to calm it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's always the eating. I feel like I can always out eat anything I work out, it's dangerous.
Barbecue and cake all day.
Yes. All right. So a free day, how would you spend it? Would it be lifting? Would it be out in the world, out in the wilderness?
Amy, I would sleep.
Sleep.
I would, a true free day, if and when they pop up, I sleep. And this is not an exaggeration, I will sleep 13 to 14 hours.
Wow.
Because I just go.
Yeah.
And, when I say get it in, I say for the exercise. I should say that about sleep too, but I
it is the most important thing. We tend to all compromise that quite a bit, but it's supposed to be one of the most powerful things. So good for you. If you can get in 13, 14 hours, that'd be amazing. I feel like I would go into a trauma. I couldn't do that. Too much to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thanks so much. There is going to be so much for people to learn on when this releases, and thanks for taking the time, and I'll look forward to seeing you when you are in Chicago. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for joining into this episode of Corr Values, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Corr Values. If you loved the episode, be sure to hit the follow button so you don't miss the next one. You can also connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn for more insights on all things real estate and real life. And always, as a friendly reminder, you got this.